The Legacy of Deceit, How a Hidden Will Unraveled My Family's Dark Secrets. I never expected this day to come, the day I would lose everything. But there he was, my brother, Adam, standing in the doorway of our childhood home, a look of pure disdain on his face. His words hit me like a slap in the face. You're nobody. You don't deserve to exist in this family. He signed the papers, sealing the fate of the house we had grown up in, and just like that, I was left with nothing. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly understand, was that all the property he thought he owned, it wasn't his. It was mine. And now I was ready to take it all back. It all started 6 months ago when Mom passed away from cancer. It was fast. Too fast. The kind of thing that leaves you in shock, unable to process the weight of it. I can still remember her last moments, her frail hand squeezing mine, her voice weak, but her words sharp as ever. Tommy, protect the legacy. The answers are in the study. At the time, I thought it was just the meds talking, the ramblings of someone who knew the end was near. But now, looking back, I understand exactly what she meant. The legacy she was talking about, the family's legacy, wasn't just about memories or heirlooms. It was something far more valuable. Something Adam had been quietly stealing for years. Adam and I took care of the funeral arrangements. Or rather, I did most of it. Adam was too busy, too wrapped up in his important meetings to help with the details. That should have been my first red flag, but grief has a way of clouding your judgment, blinding you to the truth when you least expect it. The real unraveling started when I went through Mom's study. I was going through her papers, trying to make sense of everything when I found it, her old diary hidden in a secret compartment of her desk. My hands were shaking as I flipped through the pages. And what I discovered in those words, it changed everything. As I flipped through the pages of Mom's diary, I felt my hands start to tremble. My eyes caught the most recent entry, dated just 2 days before her death. Adam came by again today. More demands. He thinks I don't know about the money he's been siphoning from the trust. My heart skipped a beat. My mother had known everything all along. She wasn't just battling cancer, she was fighting to protect the legacy of our family. She had been preparing for this moment, carefully laying out a trail that led straight to Adam's wrongdoings. And now that trail was mine to follow. I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. I had to confront him. I had to know the truth. So I called him. His voice came through the phone, too calm, too smug. I knew this wasn't going to go as I expected. I found him standing in the living room, papers scattered across the table, his back turned to me. He didn't even look up when I walked in. I'm selling the house, he announced, his words sharp and final. I'm the executor of the estate. Get your things out by Friday. This house is mine now. His voice was like a slap in the face. I froze. This is our childhood home, I protested, trying to hold onto something, anything. Mom would never. Mom's dead, he cut me off, his words cold, almost rehearsed. And let's face it, you're in no position to stop me. I felt my stomach drop. The words stung, but I wasn't going to back down. My mind raced, piecing everything together in a frantic swirl. There was something wrong here. Something bigger than just a house. I had missed it before, but now it was all clear. The missing documents. The way Mom had been reorganizing her study in her final months. The cryptic conversations with our elderly neighbor, Ivy, about the property deeds. It wasn't just about money. It was about power. I had to dig deeper. Before I share what happened next, the moment that left me breathless and shocked everyone who thought they knew the truth, I want to connect with you, my amazing viewers. Where are you watching from? Drop your country's flag in the comments below. And if you've ever had to fight for something you believed in, hit that like button because this story is just getting started. Stay tuned for what happens next. The truth was out there and I was about to uncover it. The more I dug, the deeper I sank into the web of secrets Mom had left behind. Each day, I found more documents, more clues that painted a picture I never wanted to see. I spent hours sifting through her old files, tax records, legal papers, and anything else I could get my hands on. There were old property deeds, trust documents, and then a stack of property records that Adam had been holding. I thought nothing of them at first until I saw the difference. The difference was in the quality of the paper, the ink, the way the signatures looked. These weren't the originals. They were poor copies, hastily made. I could see it now. Adam had been tampering with everything. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. I grabbed my phone and dialed Ezra's number. He had helped Mom with the estate planning, and I knew I needed him on my side now more than ever. The phone rang once, then twice before he picked up. We need to talk about Mom's estate, I said, urgency in my voice. I could already feel the weight of what was coming. Adam had made a huge mistake. He thought he was in control, but I was about to turn everything upside down. That night, I stayed up late, poring over every document I could find, connecting the dots. And what I discovered left me speechless. Mom had been keeping meticulous records of everything Adam had done over the years. Every scheme, every lie, every attempt to steal from the family. She had documented it all. She had known what he was capable of, and she had been preparing for this day. She had set up an airtight case against him. It was all there in front of me, a trail of evidence that was undeniable. My mother had protected us in the only way she could, and now it was my turn to bring everything into the light. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Adam. My stomach dropped when I saw it. Movers are coming Thursday. Anything left gets trashed. But I wasn't going to let that happen. Not to Mom's legacy. Not to everything she had worked for. I was going to fight back. I was going to stand up for her, for our family, and I was going to make sure Adam paid for every last lie. So I dug deeper. I went through every single document with a fine-tooth comb. And what I found next, it was more than I could have ever expected. The documents weren't just about property, they weren't just about money. They were about control, about power, and about everything Adam had stolen from us. And as the pieces fell into place, I knew I couldn't stop now. I was about to uncover something that would change everything. Something that would expose Adam for who he really was and finally make him pay. I had always thought Adam was just a bully. I'd grown used to his arrogance, his constant need to belittle me. But what I uncovered went far beyond petty sibling rivalry. The more I searched, the more I realized just how deep his deception ran. I found evidence of him embezzling money from the family trust, forging documents, and scheming behind our backs. It was as if he had been orchestrating everything from the shadows, slowly bleeding the family dry while we were all oblivious. But the most shocking discovery came when I visited the bank, the one where Mom had left behind a key. It had been hidden in the corner of her drawer, tucked away like a secret. My heart raced as I approached the teller with the small, old-fashioned key in my hand. I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I opened the safety deposit box, I was stunned. Inside, there were video recordings and a letter, Mom's letter, addressed to me. It was a detailed account of every conversation Adam had had with her over the years, every attempt he'd made to blackmail her into giving him control of everything. I sat there, the weight of it all crashing down on me. She had known. She had known what he was capable of and had been documenting it for years. Her final message to me wasn't just a warning, it was a battle plan, a strategy to bring him down. But that wasn't the only bombshell. No, Mom had been smarter than I had ever given her credit for. She hadn't just relied on me. She had created a network of support. Ivy, our elderly neighbor, had been secretly gathering evidence for years, watching, listening, and documenting Adam's every move. I'd never suspected a thing. But there she was, the quiet woman next door, standing as one of Mom's secret allies. And then there was Amelia, Adam's wife. She had been collecting information on his illegal activities, quietly waiting for the right moment to act. I had never thought of her as anything other than someone stuck in an unhappy marriage. But now, I saw her in a new light. She had been helping me all along, feeding me information and quietly working behind the scenes to expose Adam's lies. The pieces were finally falling into place, one after another. Adam's empire of lies, built on manipulation and greed, was crumbling. He had no idea what was coming. He was so consumed with his need for power and control that he couldn't see the truth that was right in front of him. And the truth? The truth was that he would lose everything. Every dollar, every property, every ounce of control he had fought so hard to take. It was slipping away from him, and I was the one holding the key. It all came to a head when I finally arranged a meeting with Adam. I knew this was the moment everything would change. The tension between us had been building for weeks, and I could feel the weight of it in the air as he stepped into the childhood home. His face was a mixture of frustration and desperation, like a man who knew his world was crumbling around him but didn't know how to stop it. I didn't waste time. I handed him 2 documents, each one heavier than the last. The first was a confession, a full account of everything he had done, all the lies, the thefts, the manipulation, all laid bare for him to see. The second? A criminal complaint ready to be filed the moment he refused to sign the first. I didn't need to say much. Instead, I gave him the choice. Sign this confession and return everything you've stolen, or face the consequences. The silence between us stretched for a few moments, and I watched his expression shift. His eyes widened as he processed what I had just said. The realization hit him like a slap to the face. I knew everything. He laughed. It was a hollow sound, empty and forced, but it was clear his confidence had shattered. For the first time in years, I saw him falter. The man who had always been in control, who had manipulated everyone around him, was crumbling under the weight of his own lies. His hands shook as he reached for the pen. He signed the confession right there, in front of me, without a word. It was over. But that wasn't the end of the story. The confession wasn't just a victory for me, it was a victory for everyone Adam had wronged. We took it to the family and the truth spilled out. Every property he'd stolen, every illegal transaction he'd carried out, every single betrayal he'd orchestrated, it was all exposed for everyone to see. But the real fight wasn't just about exposing him. It wasn't just about the money or the properties. It was about Mom's legacy. We weren't going to let greedy developers tear everything down, turn her life's work into a soulless high-rise. No. We found buyers who would honor her legacy, who would preserve the community she had spent her life building. The childhood home, the place where so many memories had been made, would be saved. It would become something that would benefit others for generations to come. As for Adam, he was left with nothing. His empire of lies collapsed around him, leaving him exposed and empty. He vanished from our lives as quickly as he had come into it, and honestly, I didn't look back. I had done what Mom had always believed I could do, protect what she had built. I understood now what she had meant when she told me to protect the legacy. She had always known the game Adam was playing. And now I had learned how to play it better. We were turning the childhood home into a community center. It was Mom's final gift to us, a place where the values she had always cherished could live on. And as I stood there, looking at the home that had witnessed so many years of joy and sorrow, I finally understood. Mom had made sure everything was in place. She had set the stage, and I had just followed her lead. We had won. The legacy was safe. And Adam? Well, he was a distant memory now. Deceit in the family, how one betrayal shattered everything. You're worthless and will die alone, Aunt Marie declared, her voice cold and unforgiving. I never thought I would hear those words coming from her, of all people. But there they were, echoing in my mind as I sat in a guest room in my best friend Ethan's apartment, staring at the empty walls, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. How had my life unraveled so quickly? How had I gone from being the grieving nephew she so kindly took in, to being kicked out, abandoned, and left with nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal? At 27, I had spent the last 5 years living with Aunt Marie. Ever since my mother passed away from cancer, she had been my only family. She had swooped in like a godsend, offering me a place to stay, promising to help me through my grief. You shouldn't be alone, she had said. Your mother would want me to take care of you. Back then, I believed her. In my devastated state, I couldn't see through her words, couldn't see the manipulation behind the kindness. I thought she was my savior. But now, sitting here in this unfamiliar room, I realize how wrong I was. I never imagined that it would all come crashing down like this. That she, my aunt, the woman who had taken me in when I had no one, could betray me in such a devastating way. For years, I had trusted her completely. How could I not? She had been the only one who showed up when my world fell apart, offering me a fresh start in her home. But now I realize it was all part of a plan, a slow, careful manipulation. And I, blinded by grief, had been nothing more than a pawn in her game. I'm still trying to understand how I missed the signs. How did I not see the red flags? The endless favors, the constant pressure to depend on her, the subtle ways she made me feel small, incapable of handling my own life. It's all so clear now. She didn't want to help me, she wanted to control me, to isolate me, to make me dependent on her. And the moment I started to question that control, the moment I began to see through the facade, she discarded me like yesterday's trash. Just like that. 2 hours to pack up my things and I was out. It was that simple to her. But what she didn't realize, what she couldn't possibly know, was that her actions had set a chain of events in motion. I wasn't going to walk away quietly. Not when I knew the truth. Not when I had uncovered what she had been hiding from me all along. And trust me, Marie has no idea what's coming for her. This story starts at 2 a.m. in a guest room with nothing but a few belongings and a burning need for justice. I'm no longer the broken nephew who needed saving. I'm something much stronger now. And Marie? She's going to learn just how far I'm willing to go to take back what's mine. I spent the next few days trying to settle into my new reality, but my mind kept racing, replaying the events in my head. How could Marie have done this to me? How could I have been so blind? I wasn't sure where to begin, but one thing was certain: I had to find the truth. I couldn't just let her get away with this. It started innocently enough. I found myself going through some old files in Marie's office one evening. I figured I might as well clean up, get a little closure on some things. But what I found in those dusty folders was nothing short of explosive. There, buried under piles of paperwork, was a folder with my name on it. I should have left it alone, but curiosity got the best of me. I pulled it out. The first page I flipped through sent a chill down my spine. It was a property deed, one for my mother's house, the very same house I thought I had sold years ago. But the sale had never happened the way I remembered it. The money was never invested as Marie had promised. No, the deed showed it was transferred directly to Marie's name. Not just the house either, other properties, ones I didn't even know existed, were all under her control. My heart raced. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It wasn't just a mistake. It was deliberate. She had carefully, systematically taken everything that should have been mine, and she had done it in plain sight. And yet I had never suspected a thing. My mother's estate wasn't just a financial transaction to her, it was an opportunity. An opportunity to steal everything. I felt my hands shake as I went through the papers. There were more bank statements, transfer records, each one a piece of the puzzle that had been hidden from me for years. And then I found something that made my blood run cold: a trust fund. A trust fund I never knew about. My mother had set it up before she passed away, and it was supposed to ensure that I was taken care of after her death. But Marie had taken control of it. Every penny, every asset, she had her hands on everything. As I dug deeper into the folder, I came across a series of letters from my mother's best friend, Bella. I remember Bella well. She'd been a constant figure in our lives, always there for my mom. But these letters, they were a warning. Bella had been suspicious of Marie for years. She had written to my mother about Marie's manipulative behavior long before she passed away. Bella knew what Marie was doing. She had tried to warn us, but no one had listened. The betrayal felt suffocating. Every page I turned over revealed more of Marie's deception. The tension inside me built with every discovery. How had I not seen it? How had I let her get so close? She had been playing me like a fiddle, pulling the strings, while I was too wrapped up in my own grief to notice. Before I share what happened next, the moment that made me realize how far Marie's deceit had gone, I want to connect with you, my amazing viewers. Where are you watching from? Drop your country's flag in the comments below. And if you've ever had to fight for something you believe in, hit that like button, because this story is just getting started.